Hi.
Well, hello, everyone watching. We're excited to be here. It's Wednesday, the first Wednesday in August, and we usually come live to either bring some authors or tell you about books. And this time, for one, I can't believe it's August. Let's talk about that for a second. Okay,
I don't even want to think about it,
we
to be
we've
honest.
given pause for how annoying it is. It's already August. But we're here to talk about Book Club Snug, which is a program where we tell you about book club juicy books that you really want to dive into, have some great themes. And we're joined by three amazing authors today. So before we get started, we just want to say hello to everyone in the chat. Tell us where you're watching from. Someone did say we're muted. Is everyone, can you hear us? If you can, give us a, we're good. Tell us where you're calling in from. Not calling in from, watching, viewing from. And then we'll get going in just a second. But that's our housekeeping. We had a great program last night with some authors as well. We definitely want to check out the, oh, thank you, Beth. We're good. Audio's you want to check out the replay of that. We had Writers to Watch, and we have a new group of authors coming for Writers to Watch soon. So stay tuned for that schedule. We will get it out as soon as we have it confirmed. But I think that's it. How is everybody? They're good?
Yeah. Should we break
Should
the illusion that Lady and I are not in different rooms right now? I think it's always funny that I feel like I'm tricking people.
Yeah.
All right. So we should jump right into the books.
Yeah, let's go. Great. So starting with, I'm gonna welcome on Sue Hincenbergs on screen and on audio. Come on down, I guess I will say.
There I am. Hi
Hi,
there.
how are you?
I'm great. Thank you very much for having me.
We're so excited to talk to you. This is your debut book we're talking about, and I can't wait to hear more. And I know librarians are excited too. The cover, which Grace is about to show, it's a cool cover. Oh, it's a really cool cover. Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna do a bio, and then I'm gonna hand it off to you to tell us more about the book. So,
Sure.
okay. So Sue Hincenbergs is a former television producer who has worked on multiple award-winning programs. She lives in Toronto with her very much alive husband, which you'll know more about after hearing about this book. Her scruffy middle-aged rescue dog Kramer. If Kramer makes it on to screen, I wouldn't be mad. And her room's full of the stuff her three sons have left behind as they moved out. I love that. Porch light is always on in case anyone comes for a visit, which I like that you put that in the bio as well. Just a reminder to anyone listening. And like I said, this is your debut. It came out in May, the retirement plan. And let's hear more about it. Tell us, Sue.
Sure. Well, thanks again for having me. So the story, it's really about marriages and friendship and a murder, of course. It's about four couples that have been friends for about 30 years. They should be retiring, but they can't afford to because a few years back, the husband's made a bad investment and lost the retirement savings. So you can imagine how that has affected the marriages. They basically withered from the blame and the shame. But everything changes when one of the husbands dies in an accident. And then the widow receives this huge life insurance payout, and the surviving wives realize their husbands have the same kind of coverage. Then the only thing standing between them and the dreams these women have had with the retirement are their husbands. So they hire a hitman to kill them. But what they don't realize is the husbands aren't necessarily the duds the women think they are, and the husbands have already hired that same hitman for a job of their own. So it's twisty and turny, and there's a lot going on. It's like a bad people doing bad things that are, but you kind of like the people, and it's reminiscent of the Coen Brothers movies and a bit of Quentin Tarantino, Elmer Leonard, Get Shorty, that type of thing. It's a fast pace. Now, do you want me to just keep talking? Is this the format here?
Oh, tell
So
us more about the inspiration behind the book. I would like,
sure.
where did this idea come from?
Well, you mentioned I'm a 64-year-old debut author, so I was very happy in my career in TV. But then, if you read the acknowledgments in the book, the first line starts. First of all, I'd like to thank Bruce Springsteen because when I was 20, I went to the Springsteen concert, and if you've ever been to a Springsteen concert, you know what he's like. He's a very powerful presence. And he talked a lot in that concert about dreams. And I was a big reader from the time I was a kid, went to the library all the time, just went through everything I could read. And I had a dream of writing a novel. And then I kind of took a stab at it when I was 20. And in that concert, when he was talking about dreams, that was my dream at the time, you know, to conquer the world and to write a novel. And I promised him in that concert, 2 rows from the top at Maple Leaf Gardens, terrible seats, that I will never give up on my dream, Bruce. And I promised like 20-year-old me and him. And then, you know, fast forward 40 years, and essentially I had given up on that dream because I had kids and dogs and a mortgage and that. And then, but he doesn't go away. Like he's on Broadway, he's touring again, he releases another album. So every time he did, it kind of reminded me about that dream. And then as I was approaching 60, it was like, if not now, when? And somebody had asked me when I was retiring, and it just shocked me that I was getting near that stage of life. And I thought that like the only vision I really had of myself in retirement had been rewriting, and there I hadn't written anything. So I just started to noodle around and thought, like I've got to get going. So I started. So I started the book. It came out in Canada, as you said, in May. It debuted as a #1 bestseller in Canada, and it's stayed on the Canadian bestseller lists for the 14 weeks since then. And it seems to resonate with people, I think, because of the friendships and the marriages. There's a lot of humor in it. That's the main thing, and that you've anybody who's been married for 35 years knows there's a lot of material there. And so I kind of mined that, and I mined these group of like 4 women in a minivan trying to get the life of their dreams, and they're dissatisfied with their husbands and kind of maneuvering all that. So it's going to be translated into 20 other languages, and we sold the movie rights like right at the same time we had the publishing deal. So and I'm told in the movie business, of all the books that are optioned, only 10% really get made, but they've hired screenwriters and the script is done for this book now. So that's all really encouraging for me. You mentioned the cover, and I have the book here. And one thing to note about it too, it's the same cover in a lot of places, like UK, the Canada, and the US. They shared the same cover, and I know of the countries it's being in, probably about half of them, I think, have stayed with the same cover.
Yeah, I think that's not always the case too. You know, things look differently, but that tells you how much they really killed it on the pun intended, killed it on the
Yeah.
cover because it works so well in different markets. That's a cool note. And
Yeah.
I'm glad that you were talking about just the wild success. It was a most anticipated spring mystery on Goodreads and AARP's top reads for spring 2025 this year. And then there's a great Publishers Weekly starred review, a sure-footed, who felt deeply funny debut. Readers will turn the pages with glee as the interests of the desperate husbands and determined wives collide with a pack of Mumbai gangsters and a dog-loving private investigator. Knocks it out of the park first time at bat. I mean, that's a great quote. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I'll tell you, every time anybody even reads the book and emails me or just says that, you know, I read it, I liked it, that type of thing, it just means so much because being a debut, I had no idea if I could do this at all. It took me, I wrote 2 books before it that did not sell. So I call this my Cinderella story on the heels of 2 ugly stepsisters. I queried 198 agents to get representation. But I changed too. By the time I wrote this book, I'd really gotten better at the craft. I'd taken courses and listened to podcasts and read the books and that. So I took all that in, and I kept kind of growing with that. Like I didn't just keep trying to do the same thing. I realized that there was a lot of room for growth. And so with that, when I sent this book out, I had interest right away. And again, I think a lot of it is the humor, and it's the relationships in it. And I know like the book clubs love it. I've been to quite a few book clubs because a lot of book club people are married or in long-term relationships. And so there's a relatability with the issues that these 4 couples can be so at odds that the wives would want to kill the husbands. And the husbands are working on their own agenda. And it's kind of like, what could drive a married couple to the breaking point? And at 30 years, like, is there not enough history to try and bring them back? So it seems to be fodder for a lot of conversations.
Yeah.
I love that. We have a really good comment on Crowdcast from our friend Beth Thomas. She says, the retirement plan was such fun. My husband constantly asked me what was so funny while I was reading. Wasn't sure I should tell him.
Yeah. A lot of people ask me, the first question is, how's your husband? You know,
Alive.
because yeah, well, that's why I wrote it in the bio. Like he is very much alive because, you know, you have to write what you know. And so there are petty grievances and I mind these in the book. And he hadn't read the book at all while I was writing it. Like I'd talk about plot points and I'd say like if four guys are on a boat and they're talking about their marriages, like what would they say? How deeply would they go into it? So I had feedback from him in that kind of way, but he didn't know much else about it until after it was sold and like it was well on its way to being publishing. So then he sat down and read it and I could hear him in the family room going flipping pages and going, "Oh, come on." You
I
know, and
love
I
that.
know exactly what it was because some of, you know, you write what you know. And it's like I have a really big thing about extra shoes in the front hall. You know, there's a perfectly good closet, put your shoes in the closet. And coincidentally, Pam and Hank have that same kind of issue in their marriage.
That
I
adds
love
that
that.
authenticity to it. You know, that's why people can relate to this story because they're like, yes, they won't put the shoes on the wall, you know. I think that's what makes it so great. And just
Yeah, because
yeah, sorry.
I was just going to say, because it's often sometimes it's the little things, right? It's not always like big things in a marriage that cut at it. It's little things.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Okay, so before we put you in the virtual green room for a second, I just want to say that you have a really cool kit on Edelweiss. You are watching on Edelweiss, you can go and download kind of a reader's kit. So if you're going to bring it to your book club, there's a lot of fun extra goodies in there, including there's like a playlist, things like
Yeah.
that. So I want to point that out and we'll put a link in the chat to that as well.
Yeah, I also
Awesome. Thank you.
got some really good comments on here that again I just want to call out. Nicole says, I do judge books by their cover, and this definitely draws me in. We have people saying congrats, thank you for your perseverance with the publishing journey. And Robin says, Sue, the title of the first chapter, You Don't Need That, sure made me laugh. How many times have I heard that?
Hmm.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to call those out. Those are great, great
And I'm glad someone called
comments.
out, like, we don't always hear of the books that didn't make it to publishing and all of the work you have to do and really persevere. So I'm glad you,
Yeah.
now we're very glad you did.
Oh, thank you. One funny thing about the chapter titles is I wrote them in. The first books I wrote didn't have chapter titles, but then I had my groups, my writing groups that I had hooked up with, which was really helpful. A lot of those women did have chapter titles. And so when I started the retirement plan, I put them in just as fun because I like it when you watch a TV show and there's an episode title and then you look to see where it is. So I thought I'm just going to put them in. And at one point, one of the editors suggested that it didn't really fit the genre, that I should think about cutting it. And I was at a book club and said to the book club, like they read like a beta version. And I said, yeah, but when you see the real version, there won't be the chapter titles. And they had such an uproar. It's like, oh, no, no, we love them. We love them. So it was on that feedback. I went back and fought for the chapter titles. I didn't have to fight very hard, but I kept them. But I really appreciated that. It was like my own little focus group that I hadn't realized I was having.
Yeah, I love that. Well, thank you so much. We're gonna put you back in that green room and
Sure.
welcome on Polly Stewart. Hi.
Honey. I want to pick Sue's book for my book club now. That sounds amazing. Love it.
I love that. Thank you for being here. It's good to see you. Polly was at ALA this year, so we saw each other about a month ago. So it's good to see you again.
Good to see you. Did you wear your handcuff earrings, Grace?
It's so funny. I got on the train and I was like, if I wasn't already a little late, I would turn around right now. But do you have yours in?
Oh, I forgot too. I was halfway here. And so, yeah, next time we'll have to text each other.
Oh, well, I will. Yeah, so I'm gonna pull up the cover so you can see what we're referencing. So Polly's cover is gorgeous and has these handcuffs, and I have a pair of handcuff earrings that I wore at ALA, and then you got a pair for your book launch. And I was like, great, we're gonna match day, and then I totally forgot, and you did too. So I guess that worked
Both absent-minded, I guess.
out.
I did notice too that we both have Sue's book also has a martini on the cover, right? So another
Oh.
little cross marketing there.
I love that. Before we start talking about the Felons Ball, which is so much fun, we'll bring up the other pair of earrings later. You all will know what I'm saying, but I'm going to read this bio about you. So Polly Stewart is the author of The Good Ones, which I loved, She grew up in the Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia, where she still lives. Her short fiction has appeared in the Best American Mystery Stories, and her nonfiction has appeared in the New York Times, Good Housekeeping, and other publications. She writes the monthly backlist column for Crime Reads. So I'm gonna have you take it away, talk about the Felons Ball, and everyone sit back and enjoy.
Okay, sounds great. Well, thank you so much for having me. I had the best time at the American Library Association conference in Philadelphia last month, so I'm so glad to get to talk again to a similar audience. So Grace mentioned my first book was The Good Ones, which came out in 23, and I'm kind of I guess, a reluctant or accidental mystery author. I always thought of myself as a literary fiction writer, and then I sent The Good Ones to my agent, and she said, "This is a thriller," which came as a surprise to me, but I really embraced that label because I love the genre. That's what I was reading for fun anyway. So the Felons Ball has a little bit of true crime inspo. If you read the cover or read the book, I think it'll be definitely clear to you which cases I'm talking about, one in particular. But it's about a family in a small town in the South, a father, a mother, and three adult daughters. The father, back in his younger days, made moonshine with his brother. So we're kind of in a small town Southern setting. He's gone straight. He's a general contractor now, doing very well, and has this lavish lakeside estate in Virginia where he has a party every year called the Felons Ball. And obviously the name of that is kind of a tongue-in-cheek reference to his family's criminal past. So at the party in the year when the book is set, his three daughters are there. The youngest one, Natalie, is the main character, and her much older boyfriend, who is also her father's best friend, is murdered on the night of the Felons Ball. So she obviously is concerned. She doesn't want her family to be implicated. She feels probably more loyalty to them than she should. So she's kind of caught between trying to figure out what happened, but also to make sure that the police don't get near the people she wants to protect. She and her oldest sister, Cassie, are both yoga teachers. Natalie owns a yoga studio. Cassie is actually a national yoga influencer on Instagram with her husband. They live in California. So part of what I was trying to get at there is a lot of people tend to have some stereotypes about the mountains, about Appalachia, and I've lived here for most of my life in small towns. People tend to like all the same amenities that they do everywhere else. So there's a nice kind of contrast, I think, between modern culture and some of those Southern stereotypes. Grace already showed the cover, but I'm just such a big fan of this. I really loved the way it portrayed this idea that, these are not great people. They're not honest people, but they're kind of having a great time. Most of the time, they're really enjoying themselves. So this was a really fun book to write. I wrote it very quickly in contrast with my first title, my first novel. When I said that on book tour, the other writers I was in conversation with never wanted to hear it, but I did write this book in about 6 months, the first draft. So it came to me really easily. A lot of readers I talked to on book tour told me that it's a fast read, which I love. I enjoy a fast read when it comes to a thriller. And it was funny, I just mentioned I was walking over to my office to do this talk today, and I ran into one of my neighbors who said, "Oh, we're going to read The Felons Ball this month for my book club." So I was really excited to hear that. I think it's a great book club title. There's so much to talk about. Just one more thing that I'll mention. I mentioned the three sisters, and another response I've gotten a lot from readers, which really meant a lot to me, is how many sisters do you have? And the truth is I don't have any. I always wanted sisters, but unfortunately I don't have any. But I was really interested in that relationship, in the kind of the combination of closeness and competition and resentment that can build in there. So I think that's a great fun thing for readers to talk about as well.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so much to talk about in this book, which we can get into in a little bit. But somebody did ask, Renee asked if you practice yoga, and I did want to bring that up because I remember your talk.
Yes, yeah, I do. I've had like a 20-year yoga practice, and I have my teaching certification, but I don't teach because I don't have time. I would love to. But it's such a big part of my life that I just thought it would be fun to write about. And also I did follow some very interesting yoga influencers on Instagram when I was writing it. So there's a lot about the culture that I just think is really fascinating, for better or for worse.
Yeah, absolutely. I just wanted to call that one out because I remember, we just talked about you write what you know. So I wanted to call that out. But you had amazing reviews, but Kirkus gave you this 1-star review for the Felons Ball that says, following Stewart's impressive debut novel, The Good Ones, this is a breakout achievement. Even dealing with the trickiest family dynamics, a shifting cast of characters, and complex twists of fate, she is a complete command. A captivating, multi-layered mystery by a rising star. So just want to call that out as a really good, really great quote.
Thank you. I was thinking of getting a tattoo of that last line.
All down, yeah, right down the back. Like I love that. So thank you so much. We're gonna put you back in the green room for Teddy, and then when Teddy's done, we'll bring you all back on for some questions.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Okay. Hey, Teddy, how's it going?
Good.
Good. Thank you for being here. I'm super excited to hear you talk about the winner and then maybe the next book. So I'm gonna do a bio and then we're gonna let you take it away. So
Sure.
Teddy Waite is the author of 7 novels and a winner of the Whiting Writers Award, a little bit of a tongue twister, and an NEA Creative Writing Fellowship, as well as a finalist for the Young Lions Fiction Award, Penn Bingham Prize, and Dayton Literary Peace Prize. A frequent contributor to the New Yorker and a former columnist for the New York Times. He has taught at Columbia University and Washington University in St. Louis, and you live in Brooklyn with your family. So this book, The Winner, came out previously, but the paperback just came out in June on the 3rd. So we're very excited, and it's so many reviews. I think we'd be here all day if I read all of the great praise, but New York Times, Washington Post, Boston Globe, like all of this love for it. Named a Vogue best book so far, an LA Times book to add to your reading list. I mean, it goes on, and you're doing really awesome things. So tell us more about The Winner and welcome to the program.
Thank you. If you zoom in on that house very tightly in the window, you'll see a martini glass perched on the ledge. You wouldn't, but it wouldn't be out of place, actually. The Winner follows Connor O'Toole, who's a 25-year-old law school graduate who graduates in the midst of the pandemic summer of 2020. He's from a working class background in Yonkers, New York. His father died when he was young. His mother's diabetic and unable to work during COVID. So things are tight for them. So unable to get a job as a lawyer, he takes a job as a tennis pro because he was almost a self-taught tennis prodigy growing up and used tennis as a means to get a scholarship to college and so on. So he does so in this gated enclave of basically Mayflower, old money wasps near Cape Cod. He begins giving lessons to a divorced woman about twice his age, who's the richest woman on the place, called Cutter's Neck. Gives lessons to her, and then soon, to be euphemistic, starts giving her off-the-court lessons for money as well. So things are going swimmingly for him. He's having a fun summer in this beautiful place. He's making a lot of money. He finds himself quite attracted to this woman as well, until he begins falling in love with a girl his own age that he meets there. And suddenly there's a love triangle of sorts, and things get much more complicated. And without spoiling anything, something very, very bad happens over the course of the novel that he has to adjust to. And it covers a lot of themes, I'd say, this book, but the inspiration was my wife's family has a shared house in a place like this. I made it much more crusty and upper crust than in the book than it is in real life. And the shared house is shared by like 40 relatives. It's a little bit different from this situation. But we spent some time here during the pandemic, and it did feel like we were in a bit of a bubble. And I couldn't help but reflect on the socioeconomic rifts between being able to be in a place like this. We couldn't stay here full time. It's not winterized or anything, but and what many people had to deal with, and that COVID really told the story of a country in which some people got to escape to country houses and some people had to work in warehouses. And so that's really undergirding this story, which is more of a literary thriller as well. Sounds a little bit like Polly, in that I'd written things that were pretty much classified as just literary fiction until this. And this was my first foray into more thriller territory.
Yeah, that's fascinating to kind of take the change a little more and write something more in the thriller space. Since that wasn't what you maybe originally started out to do, what about this kind of cultural depiction of, wealth and status, and then maybe an outsider, like what creates the perfect opportunity to make it thrilling and a mystery within that?
So one reason I was just simply drawn to writing a book in this genre is that during the pandemic, I really developed an appreciation for books that were page turners that I couldn't put down as a means of escapism. It was difficult for everyone in that time, and to be taken out of your environment and into the pages of a unput downable book was, I thought, a great gift to readers. So I was trying to do that for others as well. Um, in this case, COVID itself, this book could be set in non-COVID times. It certainly is possible to do it. But I was interested in using COVID as a means of making the thriller that much more thrilling and claustrophobic. In that, one reason he's able to separate the two women from each other is that they're not all allowed to be in the same indoor space ever, because people were isolating then. So it's used in a way that suggests that enables the plot rather than just being backdrop. I noticed there's been a bunch of COVID set novels since it has all happened. Many of them are just some people retreat to a country house and talk about old times or something like that. I was thinking, how can I use this to really influence the plot and make it a different story than it would be otherwise without it?
Yeah, no, that's fascinating. I think we had that conversation a lot during COVID, but like it's like weird to say right after, because like when's the actual stopping point, I don't know, but right kind of after everything started to seem a little normal, all of the authors we talked to were like, what do I do with this? Like, do I put this in the book? Do I reference it and not say anything? Do I act like, it wasn't there at all? And so that's been interesting. And I'm going to be intrigued to see what happens in the future, or like those historical novels of what that story is, because I think at the beginning, everyone was very like, no one wants to hear about this. Let's not put it in there.
Right.
Versus
And,
like,
and also it makes for harder fiction writing because you need to have characters in the same room in stories typically. And if they're not, you can't have a book of just people having Zoom calls all day long. That's not very fun, nor is it fun to be part of. So to do this, I had to set it in a place that's sort of like a bubble where they essentially don't fear COVID's intrusion, and where they can be outdoors a lot. And so that there's still a chance for in-person interaction without it shadowing every single scene. They're not thinking about COVID every single moment. And that wouldn't be a very fun book to write, certainly not a fun book to read. It wasn't fun to live through. But so this is COVID is in the background of everything here, and it's making the conditions possible, and it's part of the social critique, but it is not inflected in every single sentence.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's really fascinating, and a good thought experiment too within the book, the thrilling pacing book, but also this deeper level. And I just before we bring everyone back on, I want to tell them and librarians love to know when the next book's coming. So you have I don't know if you want to quickly, couple sentences, tell us about your next book we have coming next spring.
Yes, it's called The Au Pair. I'd say about 80% of the storyline is guessable from the title, maybe, but maybe 20% is not. But as you can guess, it is about an au pair, and again, without giving too much away, her disruptions to a family she begins working for in America, a Norwegian au pair and a novelist married to someone in finance, and how this au pair upends their lives.
That's great. And now you can read this book, talk about it at your grander book clubs with your patrons, who the book's already out, but you librarians know you can get early access to that eGalley when it drops. So be checking out Edelweiss and NetGalley for that. Thank you. Okay, I think we're gonna bring everyone on. This has been a very fun time. How's everyone feeling? Having fun? We're good. Okay.
I kind of want to bounce off of what you just talked about with Teddy a little bit. What draws you to write thrillers? Like, I know, Polly, you said it was kind of an accidental sort of thing, but I'd love to hear more from you two about that as well.
Yeah, well, like Teddy, I hadn't really connected it with COVID, but I think it was around the same time that that was just what I wanted to read. You know, I went through every ton of French and, you know, I mean, so many other great thriller writers, but just the pacing kept my attention. And I realized, you know, I think literary fiction writers are really striving to do the same thing to keep people turning pages. So why not use all the tools of conflict and drama that are available to us as writers?
Yeah,
For
I'd say
me,
my answer. Oh, go ahead.
sorry.
Go ahead,
Go,
Teddy.
go ahead, Sue. You please go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that for me, I would just like to, I know I like to read a book where the pages keep turning. And so I kind of wanted to write one too. But they're my favorite books to read. So, you know, and if, you know, sometimes when you're like, you're on a flight and you want to be distracted and you're at the airport and you're looking at all of them, there's beautiful written word books there with lots of lovely sentences, but I want the one that's going to keep me absorbed. And those are the thrillers.
For me, I'd read The Talented Miss Ripley by Patricia Highsmith a little over a decade ago at this point. Was really engaged by it. Always felt like I wanted to write my version of it, but didn't know what that was until this COVID experience made me think this would be a good backdrop for it. The previous four novels of mine all were sort of edging toward thrillerish territory. They all had very, I hope, propulsive plots and culminated in something explosive. So I was edging toward there as well. I've also been doing a lot more screenwriting in the last several years. And the screenwriting, I think, discipline forces a kind of thrillery engine on you as a writer. So that probably bled into my novel writing, especially for The Winter, where I ended up writing the screenplay for it after selling the book, after publishing the book, but it feels like it's somewhat tailor-made for a screenplay as well.
Very
As you were
cool.
describing it, I was thinking I want to see that movie. So I'll read the book too, Teddy, I promise.
Thank
Though.
you.
Well, you know, the book's always better, but you gotta see both, right?
Yeah.
Do both. So we actually were talking before this, Grace and I, about, you know, we've seen over and over that mysteries or thrillers, the pacing makes such a good book club read. And so I don't know, we've talked about this a little, so you can comment if you have anything else to talk about why these books make, like, why are they perennially always a good book club read, but also maybe if we haven't, something you would want a book club to discuss specific to your book. What do you think that they're really going to be able to dive into? And we'll, yeah, whoever wants to jump in. If not, that's fine too.
Well, I
I
think
can,
we touched on, oh, well, I was going to say,
you go ahead, Sue.
we pretty much touched on mine because it's just like marriages and, you know, the ups and downs of long-term relationships, marriages and friendships. So you go, Polly, now.
So for me, I think the family dynamics, you know, I feel like few people are in a situation where they have, you know, murders happening at their parties, but everyone has a family. Everyone has difficulties with parents and siblings. So I think that's very relatable for readers.
Hmm.
For me, I'd say this book, the themes it echoes other books of mine all seem to revolve around class, ambition, masculinity, and I think ultimately the American dream, or what this book says about America at the time it's either written or at the time it's set in.
Hmm.
Hmm.
I feel like
Mhm.
Polly, when I was reading your book, I kind of got that feeling of class as well. Specifically because they're kind of it is more like white collar crime. Like I think of it like that, but I don't mean like in like embezzling funds. You know what I'm saying? But I thought about that as well when I was reading.
Yeah, I think
I'm
there's,
glad you said that, Grace. Yeah, because you know, when I talked to my editor about what it was about, I said toxic Southern masculinity and complicity, you know, which is not super catchy. I don't know if it's a great elevator pitch, but to me, that is the larger themes of the book are people behaving badly because society has allowed them to do that, and then when the consequences finally catch up with them.
maybe complicity and consequences could be something in maybe every book. Yeah,
Yeah.
something to look into. Yeah, and discuss. So there's some great comments in the chat. I think so. Renee wants to know, Sue, what different groups do you have? I think they're all a little jealous that people get to read your book early in this group that you're having. So like, get on that. But I don't know if you have, if there are they're just writing groups. So I think they want to know if it's like if you can tell us if it's a mystery only or just have writers in general. Yeah.
Well, when I was starting this, because I'm just was so like floundering and I just knew everybody in my family loved everything I wrote. And I just knew that wasn't going to be very helpful to me. So I needed objective eyes. And I'd started listening to a podcast that's, it's Canadian based, but it's in the States as well. And it's called, and I hope I can swear on this, the shit no one tells you about writing. So it's hosted by
Right.
an author, Bianca Murray, and two literary agents, and they talk about how you get your book sold, but also craft. And so in that, periodically they put together like a beta reading matchup group, and I applied to that 4 times just because I just wanted to keep getting feedback on that. So of those groups, the first one I joined was 4 years ago, and we still meet every month, meeting tonight actually. And another one we meet twice a month. They're a little bit more ambitious. They're a little bit older. They don't have kids, so they can get more pages done quickly. And then the other two just kind of fell away because everybody, especially younger women, I think they have the dream, but they don't have the time. And so, but anyway, that's and then the group I talked about specifically about the chapter titles. That was my boss. My boss put that group together when I quit. When I said, I won't be working for you anymore because I'm writing now. She said, well, you have to send me your book and we'll have to have a book club. So that was the deal. So we did that. So they were a little bit advanced.
Oh, I love that.
Mm.
Teddy and Polly, do either of you have any wacky book club stories, any fun experiences?
Or writers groups, I guess.
Yeah.
So my book club, the last book that I chose was actually our classmate from WashU, Allison Esbach's The Wedding People, which I'm sure everyone has read. It's an amazing book.
Yeah.
And then this month I chose All Fours, Miranda July. So a lot of people have messaged me and said, I love this book. This is amazing. Or this book is really weird, but I love it. But I'm sure we'll have a great discussion about that.
Yeah, I guess a writers group is a book club because
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were asking about book clubs.
Oh,
Were
no,
you?
both.
no,
Great.
I'm saying I was just thinking I said writers group, but I mean it is technically a book club. You're talking about what you're writing. But yeah, no, that's great. I love that. And then I don't want to cut any Teddy if you
Can I
have
ask
Well,
Teddy a
I
question?
have the
Or
boring
oh,
standard, probably procedure of sending my book to 5 or 6 people one by one, getting their feedback and revising it. Not wacky or very funny.
yeah.
Sue, go
Yeah.
ahead.
Well,
Go
that
ahead.
was my question for Teddy, that after you've written so many books, who's your like beta reader? Like you can't just go to every, I was looking for any Tom, Dick, or Harry. You have to be a
Mhm.
little bit choosier. How do you find yours?
I've got, as I said, probably at this point 5 or 6 people over the years, that friends from grad school. Polly and I actually went to, it sounds like the same grad school at different times. Um, Other writer friends I've made along the way, but also I'm lucky. My wife is a novelist too. Her name is Kate Greathead. Her last book is called The Book of George, and so she's always maybe the last line of defense, I'd say. Sometimes the first, but I often go to her after I've gotten a few other people's feedback. She's much better than I am about in-scene writing, so she's very good for at the end of the line helping fine-tune little moments.
Mhm. That's so
Mm,
interesting.
I love that.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it would, being married plays a really interesting dynamic in that. That's so cool. I love that. Let's see, we have a bunch of other
Another
comments
question
in
about
here.
I don't know if there's anything to say other than they love a martini, but they said, what does the martini glass have to do with the story on both covers? I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
Well, I can tell you on mine, it's actually there's a lot of margaritas in my book. It's like that's the one good thing about the one character Pam still likes about her husband is he makes a really good margarita. And I think when they were designing the cover, they were thinking that in mind. But the margarita glass is kind of curvy. So, and I actually know in my notes back to them, I said, okay, I get why you have the glass, and I can get why you have the martini glass, not the margarita, because it's a better image. So I think that's where that came from on mine.
So I imagine mine as a moonshine martini, although I'm not actually sure that that's a thing. My friend here in the Blue Ridge who often has real moonshine, it's usually fruit flavored, so obviously that would not work with an olive in it. But obviously there's a lot of alcohol in my books.
Somebody in the chat was like, moonshine, tell me more. I'm intrigued.
Yeah, yeah. Renee
I
did
can talk about
ask, Polly, did anyone in your family make moonshine or teach you how to make it?
No, I've never had any experience running a still. My dad's family does go way back in this area, so who knows. But I do. I grew up in Virginia, then I moved away for a long time, and when I moved back, I realized moonshine seems to be kind of particular to the small town South at this point. But I still know a lot of people who have it, who seem to get it on a regular basis. So it's just a weird cultural thing around here, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. Yeah, as you can tell, our viewers, we perk up, and myself, like, drinks. That's what we should have done today. We should have had a drink while we were on.
Yeah. We got a good one on Crowdcast. A lot of questions about the craft, which I find so interesting. But Beth Thomas asks, which do you find more difficult, writing the first draft or working on edits?
I can start first draft all the way. I love revising, but the first draft just makes me anxious because I don't know how I'm going to get to the end. So that's the hard part.
Okay, I find it's all kind of work in that even after I write the first draft, then I second guess everything through the revisions. So it's and I've only had the experience of the one book. I'm almost finished my second, and in that they're both equal.
For me, it would be starting a new project, not necessarily the writing of it, but feeling like something is interesting enough and comprehensive enough to want to spend a year to 3 years on it, and feeling like I have an idea of what I want to say and how I might say it. But the writing itself is much more pleasurable. It's certainly difficult, but it's like going to the gym. Once you're at the gym, it's okay. It's going there is the hard part, I find.
Yeah, sitting down and doing it.
That blank page.
Yeah.
One thing I've just realized is that there's a difference between writing and plotting, and I can write all day, every day with no problems. I just wish somebody would put the plot in front of me and say, this is what you have to do. Write this scene, and I'd be like off to the races. But it's figuring out the puzzle piece and the plot. That's the harder part.
I guess that's also a good question. When you're writing something like a thriller, or a mystery, do you plot ahead of time? Like, do you know that reveal at the end, or does it kind of come to you as you're writing?
I don't
For
want to jump
me,
in first all the time.
I'll go first. I've always had a sense of an outline for every book. I'd say the winner is the most complex because it required the most complexity. Things still shift over as you write, certainly, and even the ending probably changed a little bit along the way. But I find it's very hard for me to write any book without a roadmap, but especially a plotty thriller would be, for me at least, near impossible.
Yeah.
Let's see, there's a question about someone's like, second books from people, we're so excited, they love it. So Beth Thomas said, what did we ask this
Yeah,
about
we did.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, do either of you want to talk
was
about
mixing too.
planning versus just having it come to you, or
They
Yeah.
asked.
I would love to be. I'm sorry, Lainey.
Yeah, go for it.
I would love to be a plotter. I'm very organized in the rest of my life, so I always think my draft should be like that, but I just can't do it. I have to kind of retain the sense of discovery, I think, in writing a first draft. So I use an outline as kind of a diagnostic after that's over to be like, okay, where are the weak spots? Where's the pacing not working? It's the conflict, but I have to have it all down before I can do that.
cool.
I'm kind of the same as Polly in that I like to uncover and discover as I go along. And I am organized in virtually everything else, but I can't sit down. Have sat down with a spreadsheet and thought, if I just plot all this in, then it'll be easy after that. But I found that what I have is like major points I want to hit, and then I just have to write to those points. And then I've learned in the experience of the one book I've written is that when I've gotten to a point where I thought I was going to turn left, and just as I'm typing, I decided to turn right. And so because of that, I know it's a good thing I hadn't planned the rest of the book, because I would have just had to throw in that whole map out. So I've learned from that I'm wise to just to not think too far ahead.
Yeah, that I always find that interesting because I feel like when I think about it, I'm like, well, if I was writing one genre, I'd want to approach it this way or the other way. But honestly, I feel like, I don't know if Lainey, if you agree, but I think it really comes down to the author.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I've heard it a lot of different ways too. Just depends on
Yeah.
the person.
how they
So I kind of gave you a hint at the beginning that people love to know what authors are reading. So we have the question, what are you reading right now? And we'll go very fast to try to get a list for them. So people listening, don't worry, we'll put it in
I'll
the
write
chat.
it down. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I'm gonna pick because I'm sorry, I should have been picking before and then we're like, should I go? How about Teddy? Tell us what you're reading or what you've read lately and loved.
Sure. I'm reading, I think it's called John and Paul, not Paul and John, by Ian Leslie. It's about John Lennon and Paul McCartney's friendship and partnership from the beginnings, I assume, till the end. I'm not that far into it, but I love reading, especially about those two or about the Beatles and their creative work. The Beatles documentary I thought was wonderful, and this is a nice window into what they were really like as people and how they collaborated. So far, it's great.
Yeah. I'm curious to know if you're gonna watch the biopic that they're planning.
I would imagine so, just because
Yeah.
again, it's just so fun to watch people at the peak of creative power, their creative powers, or
Totally.
really anyone's creative powers in their case, and to see how it's played out. But we'll see how the movie actually is.
Yeah, that's a good point. And Sue, what about you?
I just discovered Frida McFadden, who everybody else and their mother knows about, and she's been on those lists forever. And I finally thought, I've seen all these books, I've got to try one. So I read The Tenet in like one day. I started it at like late afternoon and finished it, stayed up and finished it. And then I went out and I bought The Housemaid, so I'm going to give that one a try too.
That's great because even if a lot of people have read it, it's always new to you. So it's nice to discover.
Yeah.
Stuff. Yeah. I understand. Okay, Polly, what about you?
So I've been reading some fellow Appalachian writers. My friend Megan Lucas, who's a North Carolina writer, she has a brilliant book of stories called Here in the Dark. And then I'm just about to get into Wes Brown's They All Fall the Same. And then I do a lot of audiobooks. So I'm listening to S.A. Cosby's King of Ashes, which is the narrator is so good. That's a really fun one.
Oh, okay.
Awesome. So
Sweet.
Grace is working on putting that into a catalog for our viewers. Thank you. I mean, my TBR list grows every time. So thank you, but it's growing exponentially. A lot of questions are coming about like reading while you're writing. I don't know, if there's any thought on like I need to read a different genre or like I have to only write and read later, or do you do it concurrent?
Yeah, I know some people say like you shouldn't read while you're reading. That's never been kind of possible to me. I mean, I just, I'm reading stuff that I love all the time and I've never noticed. I mean, sometimes I'll find that I start to sound like a writer that I really love. I need to be kind of aware of that. But to me, it's breathing in, right? You have to like take in work that you love and appreciate to be able to produce.
I don't read as much when I write, and I find that's kind of ironic in that I got into writing because I love reading so much, and now I have less chance to do it. And mostly it's a time thing. It's not so much I'm worried about the voice or that, but it's just if I start a good book, I can't put it down. Like as soon as I'm into like chapter 2, I'm thinking, what am I doing tomorrow? So if I need to be writing, I shouldn't be reading.
Oh, it's like an exercise of discipline.
Yeah.
I've always found it helpful if when I'm starting a new book to read books and watch movies that are similar to it. I'm not worried about influence. I'm actually interested in getting influenced and seeing how have others done this, and not that I'll necessarily copy them, but I certainly reread Talented Mr. Ripley when I began writing this, for instance. It's helpful, I find, to get the bones of that genre or that specific type of story into you, and then you can choose to flout them if you want to.
Yeah, totally. I always think about, I don't know who said this to me, but like, I think it might have been Jade Song, one of our authors. She said to me, like, art's never created in a vacuum. So I always find that to be the case when we talk to authors. People always come back to that.
Also, good homework. I mean, it's like when we have you lovely authors on, we're like, oh darn, I have to go read
Oh
these
no.
books now. Like, it's
Yeah.
homework. So if you're like, at least it's fun things you get to do when you're researching, right?
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well,
All right. I think we've kind of gotten through all. I mean, there's some great comments in here, just saying, you know, if they were not familiar with your work, they're so excited to get familiar with your work. Others are just big fans. And, you know, I mean, libraries, I think that's not always, I mean, there are a lot of different kinds of book clubs, but I think book clubs specifically live and breathe in the library. And so they're always looking for new books, books that they can tie together. So I'm glad we had some overlapping themes to talk about too. But they're so excited and they say, thank you, thank you. This is a lovely afternoon.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to say before we bid you adieu? Anything we didn't cover?
I can't think of anything specific, but thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. And I just would say, I just so appreciate readers, you know, especially like anything that broadens your horizon and perspective. And, you know, I'm from another country than some of you. So I just so appreciate that you've extended the invitation and that you're reading a book that's written by a Canadian, because it's at the heart of it, like we're all kind of the same. So it crosses the border, it crosses a lot of those those boundaries now that they're and they need to be crossed. So I'm just anytime anybody pushes a book in my hand, I'm happy to open it up and see what it has in it. So I appreciate the work that you guys do.
I just want to call out a last final comment from the chat. These will be showing up on our staff picks list. So just wanted to call that out. So yeah, thank you all for being here today. Lady Annie.
It's lovely. I don't want to leave, but I guess we have to. So
Yeah.
thank you. And you'll be able to go see all the lovely chat if you want to, because it's exciting. Don't miss all of these books. Just one more time. We have the winner, it's already out, and a new book coming April 28th called The Au Pair. And we have the retirement plan. It was on sale in May. And Chris, you want to?
Yeah, the Felons Ball went on sale a few weeks ago, so you can grab that now. And maybe at some point, Polly and I our paths will cross and we'll take photos with our handcuff earrings, hopefully.
So, yes.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, and have a great afternoon.
You guys.
Thank you. Thanks very much.